This time, a Japanese person was denied lodging at a certain hotel in Yunnan province, China, which has led to a massive influx of related articles in China. Articles on this incident have also appeared in Japanese media, such as Yahoo News, but when looking at Japanese netizens' comments, I get the impression that there is insufficient information available in Japanese about this case. Therefore, I would like to introduce what is being said about this issue in China and provide some additional information to fill in the gaps in the Japanese coverage. According to the information available in Japanese, such as an article on the Mainichi Shimbun website, in early November, a Chinese person attempted to check into a hotel with a Japanese companion, but the hotel staff refused, saying Japanese people could not stay there, which led to an argument. Subsequently, the staff activated an in-house alarm, escalating the situation. Following this incident, the hotel reportedly received numerous bouquets and gifts. As background information, the article explains that many small and medium-sized lodging facilities in China are not qualified to accept foreign guests, meaning they sometimes refuse accommodations not only to Japanese but also to foreigners in general. However, it also states that in July, the Chinese Ministry of Public Security had issued a notification to local governments and lodging operators, instructing them not to restrict or deny accommodations to foreigners in violation of regulations. I would like to introduce some of the comments made by Japanese internet users in response to this article and provide additional information related to those comments. Firstly, regarding the hotel's location, it seems that many people assumed it was in a very remote area. Some comments describe the location, stating things like, Yunnan is a poor area where only pine resin and tobacco are produced, or it's a place close to the border and was an unliberated zone in the past, so foreigners entering would be prohibited. This implies an assumption that it is a place where foreigners are generally not allowed due to its remoteness. Now, I would like to show you the location of this incident on Google Maps. Here it is. The area outlined in a red dotted line is Tangshan, Yunnan province. As you can see on this map, it borders Myanmar. It's in an inland mountainous region, and if you didn't have prior knowledge of the area, you might think it was a rather remote place. It's understandable that some people might wonder why a Japanese person would go to such a place. But now, let's take a look at some images to get a sense of what kind of town Tangshan is. Here's a view of Tangshan. Indeed, it is surrounded by mountains, but it is a reasonably sized town. Looking at other photos, you can see it's quite developed. As shown in the previous map, this area borders Myanmar, which was once under British rule. At that time, Myanmar was not yet under communist rule. It was ruled by the Ming dynasty's forces, who had stationed troops in the area. During British colonial rule in Myanmar, trade between the region and what is now Xinjiang flourished, and this area served as a trade center. The primary trade item was jade, a gem beloved by the Chinese. Jade is still widely traded today, and it's not a place where only locals live, but a hub of commercial activity where various people come and go. While it's in the mountains, it's also a commercial center. Therefore, it's unlikely that the hotel where the Japanese person was denied lodging was a small, budget hotel. Here is a somewhat blurry image of the hotel that is currently making headlines. In Chinese, hotels are referred to with the character for wine house, so the last four characters translate to hot spring hotel. This area is also famous for its hot springs, so it's understandable that a Japanese person might want to stay here. However, some comments from knowledgeable people suggest that Chinese hotels are divided into those that can accommodate foreigners and those that cannot, emphasizing that the hotel may have initially refused accommodation simply because foreigners were not allowed, rather than because the guest was Japanese specifically. But, upon checking Chinese sources, it becomes clear that this was not the case. The refusal was specifically because the person was Japanese, which has been met with praise from people all over China. In reality, this wasn't a case of someone suddenly being denied lodging because they came to an unusual place where foreigners are rarely seen. It was a case of a person being refused explicitly because they were Japanese, but this nuance tends to be lost in the Japanese articles, leading some people to interpret it as an issue of foreigner eligibility rather than one of anti-Japanese sentiment. Some comments even claim that it has nothing to do with nationalism and is simply because foreigners cannot stay in such hotels. For further clarity, allow me to share a personal experience. I once stayed in a hotel in China where foreigners were technically not allowed to stay. It was before Xi Jinping's administration, so things were more relaxed. I was traveling with another Japanese person on a one-night trip to an area that foreigners rarely visited. We checked into a very small inn, not as big as the hotel in this incident, where the staff didn't refuse us at the reception. But later in the evening, a police van showed up, and we were told we had to leave because the hotel wasn't allowed to accommodate foreigners. However, it was already late, so they attempted to find us another hotel but couldn't arrange it. In the end, they permitted us to stay for the night as long as we left first thing in the morning. So, in China, even when hotels are officially designated as foreigner restricted, enforcement often varies. Many hotels operate under loose guidelines, and it's not unusual for foreigners to be allowed to stay at such hotels for the sake of business. Therefore, interpreting incidents in China solely based on legal rules doesn't necessarily reflect reality, as situations often follow flexible, human-centered logic rather than strict legal adherence. This particular area also has a strong anti-Japanese sentiment. This region, like Nanjing, has historical accounts of conflict with Japanese forces, and the Communist Party has propagated narratives of Japanese atrocities in this area. This is why the refusal of the Japanese guest became a topic of widespread interest. In fact, if you search in Chinese, you'll find many articles on this topic, and in all of them, the term Japanese is prominently mentioned. Chinese people recognize that this was not a case of refusing foreigners in general but specifically denying a Japanese guest, which holds significance in Chinese society. Some people on Yahoo Japan's comments section claim that this is a typical restriction for foreigners and has nothing to do with anti-Japanese sentiment, asserting that making such claims worsens Japan-China relations. However, that's not the case. China is abuzz with discussions that make clear the hotel refused the Japanese guests specifically because of their nationality. As an example, one Chinese article headline reads, "A receptionist in Tangshan says, 'Get out,' the voice of 1.4 billion Chinese people." It's clear that this was not a general rejection of foreigners but a direct reflection of anti-Japanese sentiment, particularly in a region with historical anti-Japanese sentiment due to the past conflicts with Japanese forces. Many people in China grew up hearing stories of Japanese atrocities in the area. There are also local stories of child soldiers from ages 9 to 15 who were reportedly captured and mistreated by Japanese forces, further fueling the local anti-Japanese sentiment. This reflects deep-rooted beliefs influenced by the Communist Party's historical narratives, leading to strong anti-Japanese sentiment in the region.